Good morning. Well, I think most of you know who I am, but if you don't, I'm Pastor Sarah. I'm the drama teacher and director here at Abundant Life. And obviously, things are a little different at chapel this morning. A couple of things. One, today is a 21V chapel. If you know what 21V is, that stands for 21st century values. It's chapels where we talk about certain issues in our society, things that affect all of society, things that might just affect teenagers, things that affect our daily lives. And so this is a 21V chapel this morning, but it's a little different because the high school drama class is in charge of this chapel. And this chapel is specifically going to be about social media. Now, before you start making assumptions about what that means, I'll get to that in a second. But first, I want to tell you about the process of what the high school drama students have been doing this semester. They have been doing a class called Theater for Change. And in Theater for Change, what we do is we pick an issue in the world. It could be a social justice issue. It could be just something that people deal with on a regular basis. Any of those kinds of things that affect our lives. They choose an issue, they research it, they write drama pieces about it, they put together all the productions of the elements of the drama pieces, and then they perform it. And today you're going to see the results of their semester work. And I'm going to tell you a little more about that, but basically Theater for Change is a way to bring awareness to people about various subjects that the authors, the writers, in this case the high school drama students, feel that people should know about. About 3 years ago, if you were around ALCS, we partnered with ACT and we did one on human trafficking. And that was the last time we did Theater for Change. This year, the choice was social media, and not necessarily about, we're going to tell you how good social media is, how bad social media is, or whether you should be on social media or not be on social media. But just the entire topic of how does social media influence us? And that can look a lot of different ways. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that before they perform. After they perform, we're going to do a little talk back where they get to explain how they came to write the pieces they wrote and put it all together. We also have some art students who have, in complementary to the themes and topics you're going to see the drama presentation, have created pieces of art on the subject. And they're also going to share their artwork with you. And so this is just an opportunity for all of us to think about a subject matter and find awareness about it. It's to raise our own questions, our own thoughts, so that we can then move forward and think about things that apply to our lives. So that's what's going to happen. The thing about social media is this. It's not like the subject is new to anyone in the room. You have all heard of social media. Many of you, probably the majority of you, are on social media in some form. Whether that's Snapchat, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. I don't know what other ones you might be into, but there's many, many platforms. And we all know that social media can be great, and we also know that it can sometimes be bad. This is not new because this subject has been discussed for years. But recently, and you may have noticed, specifically this week and last week in the media, there has been more and more discussion about how does social media influence us, what ways does it influence us, and should it have that much influence over us? In fact, we're seeing something roll out in the last week or so where we see social media companies making choices that affect national things. And whether we think that's right or wrong, that's not the discussion today. The discussion is, how does social media now play a part in our general society? How does it influence us and our society? And what kind of influence should it have? So today we're not here to tell you, get off social media. We're not here to tell you, get on social media. But we are here to raise awareness about how it influences us. We know that there are many good things. We know that it connects us. To be honest with you, during this whole pandemic thing, I don't know what I'd do without social media. There's so many people that I connect with via video messenger on Facebook or via Instagram that I don't get to see very often right now. They're in other places and I can't go travel and see them. Those are the ways I interact with them. It's really important to me to stay connected to my friends, my family, people that I can't see right now. Social media has taught us to be aware of things. There's so many things in the world that happen we never know about until, well, media in general, the press, and then television, and now social media brought them up. I would say that the majority of us, and maybe you can confirm this, find out that anything happened in the world through social media, right? Like the election results, or maybe that something happened in Europe where I don't live, like the Notre Dame Cathedral was set on fire. This was a year or so ago. I don't know those things because I don't live there, but I find them out through social media. And so those are great things. Those are things that connect us, give us information, provide opportunities we've never had before for creativity, for communication, for just interaction as human beings. Of course, we also know there's some bad things. It's pretty much been talked about, and we know that it can be addictive. We know that it can cause us certain issues, and we know a lot of things. But there's a lot we don't always know about social media, and that's what we're hoping to bring to light today, is the things we don't know. So I keep talking about the word influence and the word awareness. So the word influence is basically the capacity to have an effect on character, development, or behavior of someone. So that's what we're going to look at. How does social media have an effect on our character, our development, and our behavior? Society's character, development, and behavior. And awareness. Well, that simply means to be well-informed, to be aware of something, to maybe care about it, or be concerned about it, or support it, depending on the situation. So those are the things we're looking at today. So we just want to ask you, as you watch the next 4 monologues that you're going to watch, and then we have the talk back and the art and some other things, to just ask yourself, how does social media influence me? How does social media influence the world around me? And what does that mean to our lives and our future? So let's watch.
Why are all the girls at school so much prettier? I just want to fit in. Everyone says, oh, it doesn't matter what you look like on the outside. You can be beautiful anyways. It's what's inside that matters. They're all wrong. All that people care about at school is what I look like on the outside. Everyone is just lying to me. Look at all the girls at school. None of them even wanted to be around me. I mean, look at Lily. She's got such a perfect face. Her lips aren't tiny like mine, and her eyes are so blue, not green like mine. All of the girls and boys tell her how good she looks, and none of them even like my posts. All of the girls at school are just as pretty as her, except for me. I'm the only one that isn't pretty. They all have such skinny bodies, and I don't. I mean, look at all the girls on here. They all look perfect. Their makeup is done perfectly in every picture, and they're all so skinny. Imagine if I had a smaller face like them. Everyone would like me then. I just know that every time they see me, they're thinking, wow, Emberly looks so bad. She's so gross. Meg looked way better in her picture than Emberly did. I don't understand what they want me to do. I've done everything. I have the best guy in school. I just don't understand what they want me to do. Isn't it enough? Look at Lulu in her post. Everyone likes her stuff. If I looked like her, everyone would like me. It's my parents' fault. They made me this way, and they protected me from reality. They protected me from the way that people really think of others. If I would have known, I would have been able to look better and be more prepared. If only they would have told me. I thought things were going to be so much better when I got to North Carolina. I guess I was wrong. It's the same here as everywhere else.
How can these people be that uneducated? I mean, seriously, every point they bring up has been debunked and become completely irrelevant. I came to this school expecting a new political environment and meeting new people who think differently than I do. But to be this extreme, it's crazy. I mean, look at this. How can they go and just ignore all of this information? I can't comprehend how they can see this, yet believe the opposite. My friends back home have sent me multiple posts via Instagram that prove my point correct, so I know I'm not the crazy one. I tried once to go with the crowd and be silent, but I can't do that anymore, especially when all of this is right here. Olivia, you need to realize that you and your party are completely uneducated. Seriously, why can't you all just admit that you were wrong? Look at all this. Where in the world did she get that? That's not even true. Everything I find and is sent to me supports my argument. It's completely ridiculous that she thinks she can debunk my argument with these lies. Mackenzie, your argument does not help you in any way. And you think I'm uneducated? Your party has been tearing down this country for decades. Let me send you a post my cousin sent me that shows just how much you all have torn this country down. All you do is sit around all day figuring out how to cover up the truth. So before you go and tell me I'm uneducated, why don't you look at yourself? She is never going to win this. She's probably sitting there right now, stunned and clueless on what to say next. Oh, gosh. Shut up, lies. Your party is full of complete idiots, and your leaders know nothing. Explain to me how your perfect political party totally overthrows mine. Let me send you a post my boyfriend showed me about how your party ignores at least 99% of what is important. Did you know that, or are you stupid enough just to put it behind you? Just come to the conclusion that they are complete liars and start believing in what is actually true. Okay. Who even raised you? Seriously, I'd like to know, because they need a good talk with someone who thinks straight. Your childhood must have been so tragic, being raised to believe the lies and to grow up with the sole purpose of being ignorant. You're one to talk. I've heard your family really sticks up to what they believe in. It's sad, really, that your family is so caught up in the lies that they can't see straight. They've passed these poisonous lies to you, and look what you've become. Nothing but an ignorant, hateful, and cruel human being. Well, I can't wait to see how your life turns out, Mackenzie. I hope one day I'll see you begging on the streets as I pass by because your party failed you. You thought you were right, but you were wrong. I hope you enjoy your long and miserable life caused by your political beliefs. You absolutely disgust me. Okay. Well, Mackenzie, you make me want to vomit. I can't deal with ignorant people like you. In fact, I hate you, Mackenzie. I hate every single person who thinks like you.
Come on, 6 months and you still can't deal with it. What's wrong with you? You should be happy. There's literally nothing wrong with you. It's fine. It's okay. You're okay. I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm okay. She wasn't supposed to leave me. Not like this. Not now. She was supposed to be here with me. And now she's gone forever. Reese, it's okay that you're feeling like this. Talk to Dad. You're going to get through this. He'll understand. He's going through the same thing. He'll get through it together. He's going to help you, and you're going to be fine. I can't keep living like this. I can't keep hiding from reality. I have to go to Dad. He'll understand. No, it's too painful. You're fine. What are you doing? All this stuff you're seeing here, it isn't real. This doesn't solve anything. But it stops the pain. So what if it's not real? It won't help forever. But it helps me now. That's all that counts. Eventually, you're going to wake up and realize that you've lost everything else because you were too busy spending time in a place that doesn't exist, wishing your life was more like what you see on that screen. That's right. I'm going to talk to Dad right now, and we're going to get help. We can't. We can't afford to waste our life here. Yes, we can. We can just forget about our life. What if our life sucks? What if the only life worth living exists in here, and we can finally be free from this place, free to live as if there's nothing but this, and free to forget our pain? No, you can't just forget her. You can't just not deal with this. Yes, I can. It's easier this way. No, stop. It's better to have loved and lost than to never have loved at all. You can't just forget her because it's easier for you to stay trapped here. It's a cage. This isn't what to live for. This isn't your reality. Yeah, but it's a whole lot better than this sick reality I'm living in. Well, who are you going to let win? These momentary pleasures that keep you stuck in a cage? Or the things and people that really matter? You could spend your entire life trapped in a false reality, choosing distraction over happiness, and never even realize that true happiness could be all around you. You're right. I'm right. Mom, this is for you. Let's go talk to Dad.
I'd like to thank TED Talks for inviting me to speak with you all today. As you may know, the topic I'll be discussing will be regarding social media. It's tough to wake up every morning knowing that I've taught my children to worship an idol. And I know that might sound a little harsh, but think about it. In ancient times, idols were figurines that people centered their lives around, taking it with them wherever they traveled and consulting what the idol would think about all the decisions they made throughout their day. It seems that perhaps we haven't changed much. We still lay down our lives for a lifeless piece of matter that gets carried around in a pocket. And it pains my soul to know that I helped integrate this framework of action. See, I didn't always used to think like this. Technology was my passion. As a younger man, I was enthralled by the growth of the internet. The thought of instantaneous communication around the world, the ability to share your story with everyone was incredible. You could learn anything, you could read anything, you could create anything and everything. We tapped into unimaginable potential. So I started at Facebook, developing the bits of the puzzle that would lead to one of the greatest modern-day phenomena that everyone wanted to be a part of. My work became the seeds that developed into even newer corporations like Instagram and Snapchat. However, I was head of a team that developed the worst mistake that was incorporated into social media. We gave them life. See, social media is designed to learn about you, your interests, what makes you stop and read, what makes you click. They have insanely complicated programs that learn what you like to see, then they feed you more and more of it. At first, that might not sound so bad, right? I'm being provided with everything I love, and I'm being provided with entertainment specifically designed for me. But have you ever considered why companies design their sites like this? It's simple. They're a business, and they're going to make money, and you are the product. Every second you spend on a social media site earns that company a little bit of money, and therefore, every aspect of that site is designed to hold your focus for as long as possible. The color pattern is meant to be pleasing to the eye. When you swipe to refresh your page, just like a slot machine, it sends your brain a little dopamine rush of excitement as you wonder what's going to pop up next. When you're texting a friend and you see the 3 bubbles pop up, indicating they're in the process of writing you something back, that feature is there to hold your focus, spending more and more time on the app. What's the message going to be? Spending more and more time making the company more and more money. And that's why I left social media. To me, it seemed pretty immoral to target the brain like that. But why? I needed evidence to prove that what we were doing was wrong. And that's when I realized that the technology I had created to read personality was meant to get the users to act in ways that reflect the 7 deadly sins. Pride. Social media plays upon our desire for attention and to outdo others, proving our worth through possession and not character. And hand in hand with pride, we have greed. Social media shows us what we desire most. It analyzes our wants. It knows what it has to show us so that we don't put it down. This idea also applies to lust. We are shown what is unhealthy yet attractive, unnecessary but alluring. It knows that what it's showing us is damaging, but it also knows that that's what gets them the greatest profit. Social media shows us what we want but should not have, which plays upon our weakness that is envy. We're shown the best of the best, the most successful, then asked, don't you wish you had that too? Social media is also designed to trigger emotional responses. Wrath is one of them. Clickbait and controversy are exploited to garner that response, which makes you want to click and read and consume an over-exaggerated story, one that isn't meant to inform you, but only there to make money off of your attention. And finally, 2 similar ones, sloth and gluttony. Social media keeps us unproductive. It holds our attention away from the things that will benefit our lives. And when we're unproductive, we indulge in gluttony, feeding ourselves with the same brainless nonsense over and over, even though we know it's not good for us. And the more we allow ourselves to indulge in these behaviors, the better social media gets at exploiting those weaknesses. So what now? What can be done about it? How do we stop this? Unfortunately, this has become so ingrained in our culture that it is probably too late to get rid of. And I'm not arguing that we should. The world of technology is a wonderful advancement, filled with uncountable benefits. However, we've let corruption and sin take place, and we've let it control our lives, and that's what needs to stop. But because of people like me, we've designed it in such a way that we can't get rid of it. We can only be mindful of it. So as I watch my kids get consumed by a digital world that is learning things about them that even I don't know, I have to realize that I need to influence righteous virtues in them. I need to show them the beauty of this world and not let them get trapped in a false one. I need to teach them that life is a gift of great worth, to encourage civil dialogue so that we can learn together, and not to focus on an outward appearance, but to develop an internal righteous character. That's the best I can do. I can't destroy the monster, but I can combat it, and that is better than surrendering to it. It will always be there, poking at my weaknesses. But if I can be mindful of that, if I can spend time with my family, if I can build healthy relationships, if I can fight against sin, if I can recognize and accept my weaknesses, and if I can listen to God's holy words, I hope that I'll be okay. And that's what I pray for all of you today. Thank you for listening. God bless your day.
Okay, the art students are going to come up and be putting up some things, and they can sit down here. I'm going to start with talking about what we've been doing and introducing you, obviously. First, Alisha, who wrote and performed her own monologue, the first one. Michaela, who wrote and performed her own. And then Lucas wrote the third one, and Matthias performed it. And James wrote and performed his. So can we give them another round of applause for their work? I want to ask them a couple of questions. It just gives you a little information about their process, what we did this semester, how they got to those end results that you saw today. I just love that they're all from their different points of view, that they're all slightly touching on different subjects. And the first thing I'm going to ask is them to just tell us, what was this process of finding a subject, researching a subject, those kinds of things, choosing a topic. What was that like for you? And specifically, when we started at the beginning of the semester to where we are now, what did you think then versus what you think now in regards to just the process, not specifically about social media, but the process? And you guys can pass that microphone around, and we have the little wipes so we can wipe it off between people. But if you leave your masks on, that's very helpful. So, anybody want to volunteer to start, or I'm just going to start asking people? Go ahead, Alisha.
So, when we first started, we had two topics that we were debating between. It was social media or racial problems in our society today. And I feel like one of the biggest things with social media was my topic, which was body image, was something I'm very passionate about. And so that was something that led me to wanting to do the topic of social media.
Yeah, and feel free, each one of you, to say what your topic was. So you can just pass these mics around.
Yeah, so I guess for the process that I went through when deciding what I really wanted to discuss in mine was I thought to myself, like, if I could take this really broad topic of social media and then if I could give some sort of advice or a warning about one little issue in social media, what would that issue be? Like, what do I think is the biggest problem that people face or the biggest thing that people need to be aware of? And then right away, it just kind of came to me, like, the whole idea that social media can keep you in a place that turns the world into a place that it's not. Like, it's a place that a lot of people can get lost in, and it's a lot of times that can be good, like if you're having a stressful day and you just need some time to relax or something, but it often takes people away from things that are important because they're trying to hide from the real world. And so that just kind of came to me right away as something like, if I want to say one thing about social media or one warning to people, and that's just what came to me. So that was kind of the process of like deciding what I wanted to say about social media.
So what attracted me the most to the topic of social media was I personally love politics. Like, I love listening to podcasts. I love, like, researching. And and I have seen so many instances of people not even debating about politics anymore, and it just got down to the person. So they just started to insult each other back and forth. And so I just kind of wanted to bring awareness to the fact that, like, insulting each other doesn't really help your point. It just makes you look mean and hateful and ignorant.
Yeah, what inspired me to discuss the topic that I did was while we were figuring out what our monologues were going to be with and doing research, we watched a documentary called The Social Dilemma, which I believe we'll be showing the
We're
trailer
going to
for.
show a trailer of that to you today.
Yeah, and so that shows people who were involved in social media and kind of the actions that they regretted when they were building all the big social media sites. And so when we watched that, I wanted to kind of bring awareness to what was going on behind the scenes of social media and kind of the influences and motivations that the creators were putting into it and how that makes us act in sinful ways.
Hang on to that for a second. Okay, so then my next question to you guys is, in this process, what surprised you? Maybe not even about social media, maybe it was about your ability to do any of this, or what did you learn, or what's going to stick with you by doing Theater for Change this semester? So just maybe one thing, and we'll start with James because he has the microphone.
Just I guess what surprised me was everything going on behind the scenes. I'd always thought, people always tell you, like, don't spend too much time on social media, it's not good for you. But then I realized that it's not good for us because the people designing it are trying to get those behaviors out of us. And so that was just surprising for me. Just all the features that you don't even realize are on social media that are there just to hold your attention longer and longer, that just are making those companies more money. And so that was just kind of surprising.
I think what surprised me the most about this entire process was that I was actually able to write a monologue. I had always thought about, the writers of musicals and people who've written monologues, that's just crazy. How can they be that creative and, find an inspiration and then write it down into this whole production. And so I remember I was sitting at my desk writing my first draft, and I was freaking out because I didn't know what I was gonna write at first, but then I just kept typing and typing, and I remember by the end of it, I was I just wrote my entire monologue. To me, that was just very crazy, but it was also really cool to explore more of my abilities.
I think that one thing that surprised me while I was doing research about body image was that as you're scrolling through your social media platform, if you see pictures of family members, it's not the same, it doesn't have the same effect on your mind and your thoughts of yourself as it does when you see somebody that is not a part of your family. So say you were to see a sibling on there, it wouldn't have the same effect as if you were to see somebody that's more popular on social media. There's a different effect.
I think for me, it's kind of like Michaela. I'm just surprised at the whole process and how it went. The biggest thing that surprised me is how much my ideas changed throughout the writing process. I usually have a very strong vision when I start writing something about how everything's going to look, even down to the lighting and the set and stuff. But it's just really interesting always with writing how the more I worked on it, the more I tried things, some things worked, some things didn't, and then even working with Matthias, trying new things, just how much the show evolved over the time, where the actual thing that came out on stage, it was pretty different than what I had originally in my mind. So that was something that was cool and surprising.
Good. Now we're going to let Matthias talk since he's the only one who acted someone else's monologue. Matthias, what did you learn in the process of working with Lucas and taking on the character you took on? And what did you learn from your monologue?
I was surprised that I actually could do it. And like Lucas was saying, it was cool to see how it changed so much throughout the entire process. Like at the beginning, I had an idea of what I thought it was going to be, but then it changed. And also, I feel like I can really relate with the character and that he feels trapped and there's a battle going on inside him. So that was cool.
Good. So my last question to the high school students up here for drama is, now that you've done this process and you've looked at the influence of social media, do you have any opinions, thoughts, questions, wonders about how social media will be in the future and how it will influence us or you specifically, or not influence you, or anything about that whole topic that we've been exploring?
Yeah, so I think something that is really important to remember that I always remind myself, and it's kind of one thing we're trying to get across, is the biggest thing that is most important is awareness. It's not like we're trying to abolish social media or saying everyone should like stop or that social media is evil, or even that like all the people behind it are terrible people who just want your money. Like there are genuinely people who are working on making good technology that makes people's lives better. But it really comes down to what we do and how we use it in order to make sure that we stay healthy. And so that it's really about that and not about fighting this terrible monster, but it's about making sure that we are aware of what's going on behind the scenes so that we can actually act in a way that is good for us. Because if we're not aware about it, then we can't really fight it or control it.
I feel like one piece of advice would be, don't try to find your identity in social media. Try and find it in God, because he can give you a better identity than the world can ever give you.
I guess my piece of advice would be to, if you're in a debate with somebody or just talking back and forth, be careful of what you say and be cautious of your emotions, because a lot of times, like in places where like debates end up into like insults on each other, it's because they've let their like anger out. So I guess I would just say, control your emotions, be cautious, think about what you're going to say before you're going to say it, and just be open to new ideas, but be able to hold your stance.
Yeah, and I guess my advice would be try to recognize all the blessings of this world and the things that God has given us to celebrate. And when you find yourself, spending more and more time on your phone, try to think about, how am I celebrating God and his wonder through this, and perhaps find new ways of celebrating God's creation.
Good. Now we're going to turn over to the art students here. I'm going to give this microphone to Mrs. Grickle, and she's going to take this section. Gabe, you can put that first slide up.
Awesome, thank you. So some of the students up here are going to share and read an artist statement about their own artwork, but I get the pleasure of sharing for Sam. So this artwork is by Samantha Lobb, 10th grade. It is untitled. It was made with ink and marker, and the social media topic she did was addiction to media. Before I get into it, though, I just wanted to do a little bit of a broad introduction to how art is also agent for change and just really processing things that are going on around us. So just like the Theater for Change, visual art is a great avenue for bringing awareness to issues and to create change. It is also great for self-reflection and for processing with yourself, with others, and also with God. In art class here at ALCS, my goal is to equip you guys, especially when we get to high school level, equip you with artistic skills, but then also help you find your voice as an artist. And so we do a lot of art lessons that are basic skills and how to use shading, etc. But then I also introduce intentionally things for them to think about in the art room. So we actually did the 7 deadly sins and how that influences our society. And that was an assignment we did back in September, I think. And so 3 of the art pieces up here are from that, and they just happen to work along with the topic today. And then Mercea's, she did specifically for this show as her final for the semester. So if you guys have questions later, let us know. But here's Sam's artist statement. The ink painting that I made is a representation of a woman on one side who is addicted to media, and she has the addiction surrounding her. It's trying to completely consume her. On the other side is Charity, which is just the hand. Charity is trying to reach out through the addiction and pull the woman out of her sin. I drew this because many people in the world are struggling with social media. And most of the time, they are too blinded by their own addiction to even realize what is going on in the world around them. So I think we can all relate with that. You guys can go to the next slide.
I don't know if they're in the right order, so you may
No
have
worries,
to.
we'll just kind of go back and forth.
My ink painting mirrors the effects on value on social media. Studies have shown that social media can bring any type of person high anxiety, stress, depression, and loneliness. Social media affects the way we think about ourselves and our self-value. This particular painting shows the silence of negative impact on a person and the emotions the receiver gets within comments about their appearance, their political views, and their religious beliefs.
Thank you, Faith. You guys can go to the next slide.
Okay, so this drawing is supposed to represent a girl who feels trapped and surrounded by social media and its expectations. She no longer feels beautiful or like she's enough. Even though she has lost sight of her beauty, we can still see it underneath the tape measure. It's represented by the color.
So my piece, it wasn't initially intended thinking specifically about social media. It's more based on this idea of when we have thoughts and feelings that kind of swirl in our head and kind of easily overwhelm us. And I know that's something that I personally have really struggled with and been thinking about a lot. And the more I've been talking about it, the more I realize most of us, a lot of us feel that way and are struggling with that. This swirling feeling in our head sometimes. And I think it's just part of our generation. Social media plays such a big impact in the thoughts that we have in our head and what we input into our minds. And so I felt like this piece went really well along with this topic of what we allow to put into our brains and what we allow to think ourselves to think about and to really contemplate and how it affects our mood about ourselves and even just our own brain function as we're going about our lives. And so for my artist statement for this, which is the piece I was calling Conflicting Control, I wrote a little poem. It was, thoughts just swirl sometimes, crashing like waves, raging like storms. I think there's some level of conflict below the surface of us all, a battle that we are fighting, a question that won't go away, a desire that you wish would leave, a longing that's ever out of reach, confliction between what is right and wrong, a swirling mess, beauty out of chaos.
Thank you so much to our artists. Can we have a round of applause for them as well? As Mrs. Gruco already said, I'm always so inspired by art that has a message. Every art piece has a message or a story behind it, but specifically the power it has for many issues like this and to portray the things that we write as words and act out, they do in a totally different visual way, and both are powerful. So thanks to everybody up here for being a part of all of this. So this morning, as we finish up here, I just want to say thank you for listening and being aware. In Bible classes today, you'll be talking about this. Ask questions. Tell each other what's good about social media. Tell each other what you see as bad, but mostly just talk about the influence that it has and what is the future of the influence of social media. As Lucas said, and James in his monologue, it's not going to go away. So it's up to us. It's up to us to decide how it's going to influence us. But it's also good to be aware of how it influences outside of our choices. So I encourage you to have discussions about that today and really be brave about asking those questions. And I don't know that any of us are going to find a solution today or even soon, but we can be aware and we can see how influences affect our lives. So let's close in prayer. Heavenly Father, I thank you that you love us. I thank you that you want to connect with us and that you created us to connect with others. I thank you for the blessings of social media, for the people who have created those things, the people who are using technology to heal people, to advance the world, to even entertain us, because stories are healthy. But Lord, I also ask that you would just make us aware of the things that maybe aren't as good. And maybe it's not so much just about the good and bad, but the awareness of how we're influenced by things other than you. We want to be influenced by you first and foremost. So direct our heart and our thoughts, our mind to you. And we trust you to influence our behavior, our character, our beliefs, and the things we do, so that your influence becomes the primary things in our lives versus social media or anything else. We thank you that you love us that much. We ask that you bless everyone today as they go into the rest of the school day and Bible classes and discussions, that you would just bring out really great things, and it would be a time of community building, maybe not through social media, but about social media. We ask all of this in Jesus' name. Amen. Have a great day, guys.